단 하나의 간절한 바람이 있었습니다. 도움을 받던 나라에서
There was one hope to become a donor country from a recipient country. We wanted our culture to embrace the world and also contribute to sustainable development. And we are achieving that dream.
자, 그럼 시작해보겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us now begin Global Korea Convention 2021. Welcome, and I would like to also extend my gratitude to our online and offline participants. Hello everyone, I am Chang, and I will be your MC for today's event. It's a great pleasure to meet you all. Thank you very much for the welcome. Are you all enjoying the November fall season? We're now heading towards the end of 2021. As we were overcoming COVID-19, we are taking a gradual step one by one, and it is true that still we are witnessing and facing challenging times. However, in order to overcome the crisis, and I think that it's important to join hands, and we can see that collaboration is key in this very difficult situation, which makes today's event all the more meaningful. The Global Korea Convention, which marks its second anniversary this year, aims to overcome the global crisis as well as share the achievements and excellent cases of Korea's international development cooperation. Korea also wants to identify our future role as well as tasks to become a world-leading country in this domain. It would have been great if we had more participants for this convention. However, unfortunately, we are engaging in an online and offline format. And this event is being broadcast live, both in Korean and English, via the website and YouTube channels of the convention. And I would like to ask our online participants to actively engage in the event. This convention is taking place in compliance with the disease prevention and control guidelines of the government, and I would like to kindly ask all of our offline participants to follow the guidelines. I hope that you all have a meaningful takeaway from this event. First, let us now engage in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to kindly ask all of our guests to rise from their seats. Please face the flag. Salute the flag. I pledge in front of the proud 태극기 allegiance to the Republic of Korea, for the eternal glory of the country, liberty and freedom to the Republic of Korea. At ease, please take your seats. We will skip the national anthem. I would like to extend my gratitude for all of our participants here joining us offline despite your very busy schedules. And let me now introduce you to the distinguished guests here gracing us with their presence. And please welcome them with a big round of applause. First, we have Chairperson Henggu of National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Sciences. A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Hyuk-sang, President of Korea International Cooperation Agency, or Oecd. A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Mun-gyu, Chairman and President of Export-Import Bank of Korea. A warm round of applause, please. Thank you very much. We have Chairman Kim Sa-yeol of Presidential Committee for Balanced National Development. A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Next, Chairman Park Jong-soo, Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation. A big round of applause, please. Thank you for your attendance. Kim Hyun-jun, CEO of Korea Land and Housing Corporation. A big round of applause, please. Thank you. Song Kyung-yoon, former chairperson of National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Sciences. A big hand.
네, 고맙습니다.
Once again, thank you very much. President Kim Hung-jong of Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. Thank you very much for joining us.
네, 고맙습니다. 자, 계속해서 소개해드리겠습니다.
Let me move on. Jung Kyung-yoon, Senior Executive Vice President of K-Water. Thank you very much. And a big round of applause, please. Thank you. Moving on, we have Kim Tae-woo, Executive Vice President of Economic Cooperation and Trade Affairs of KOTRA. A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And we have Kim Young-soo, who leads the Office for International Development Cooperation at the Office for Government Policy Coordination. A warm round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And we also have distinguished guests from the Korea Rural Community Cooperation, KPC, Korea International Freight Forwarders Association, KTI School of Public Policy and Management, Arirang TV, and NST, as well as member organizations of NRC Korea. And we also have many joining us online. I would like to extend my welcome and thanks to you all, and I would like to name every one of you. However, in lieu of time, I would like to ask for your understanding that I cannot do that. And once again, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.
자, 그럼 저희는 이어서 개회사
Let us now move on to opening remarks. I would like to invite our first speaker for the day. Let me now invite Chairperson Chang Henggu of NRC Korea for his opening remarks. A big round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chang Henggu, the chairperson of the National Research Council on Economics, Humanities, and Social Science. I'd like to thank the distinguished guests from home and abroad for attending the 2021 Global Korea Convention. I'd first like to thank Mr. Park Byung-seok, Speaker of the National Assembly, and Prime Minister Kim Boo-kyung for sending their congratulatory messages in writing and video. Many other people have sent words of encouragement and congratulations. In particular, Ms. Grete Ferramo, the Executive Director of UNOPS, has sent some words of encouragement regarding the international solidarity and spirit of cooperation shown by the Republic of Korea. Thank you. This convention has been co-hosted by KOICA and Korea Exim Bank. I'd like to thank President Son Hyuk-sang and Chair and President Pang Myung-gu of Exim Bank. I'd also like to thank the co-organizers, KIEP, K-Water, Korea Land and Housing Corporation, KOTRA, Korea Rural Community Corporation, Korea Productivity Center, and Korea Logistics Association. I'd like to thank President Kim Hung-jong and the heads of these co-organizing institutions. We have many distinguished guests at this year's convention. First, we have Song Kyung-yeon, the chairperson of NRC, and Rak Hae-jul Elin Anadotir from the OECD Development Center. They will be giving keynote speeches. We also have Kim Sa-yeol, chair of the Balanced National Growth Committee, Ms. Kim Hyun-jun, the CEO of Korea Land and Housing Corporation, Park Jae-hyun, the president of K-Waters, and Park Jong-soo, the chairperson of the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation. We have many other guests, but we are unable to introduce each and every one of them. I ask for your understanding. Korea Convention. The Global Korea Convention is organized in order to share international projects conducted by the government and public agencies. And it started from the Global Korea Forum, which was held in June 2019. Last year in December, 160 institutions gathered to discuss issues under the theme of Korea leading world peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. This year, we are holding the convention under the theme of international development and Korea's role in the era of COVID-19 and climate crisis. The reason why we chose this theme for this year's convention is because we are now going to live in a post-COVID-19 era and also have to face many challenges coming from the climate crisis and global warming. Therefore, we need to think and discuss ways that Korea and the world can cooperate to address these challenges. For the past 2 years, the world underwent great pain due to COVID-19. Many countries were challenged trying to respond to the pandemic. In this global crisis, Korea was able to successfully overcome the COVID-19 crisis through its K-quarantine and a great sense of citizenship. And now we are slowly returning back to our everyday lives. On the other hand, the world over is suffering greatly due to the climate crisis. The world has been concentrating effort on carbon neutrality and to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. In response, Korea also has made an commitment at the COP26 held in Glasgow that it would reduce its carbon emission by 40% over the baseline of 2019. In other words, it committed to a rise of its NDC. Korea's experience in overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic and the above-mentioned effort in overcoming the climate crisis will be greatly helpful to many other countries. We say that we woke up one day and found out that we were in advanced countries, and that is why we are able to fulfill our responsibility as a member of the international community by undergoing such efforts. Over the next 3 days, we have many programs that will be taking place. 70 domestic institutions will participate in 14 sessions. There will be a session of best practices where 15 organizations will be making presentations on 14 topics. We have offline exhibitions where 16 booths by 5 organizations are being operated, and on the online exhibition, we have 5 organizations participating. We also have consulting for youths regarding jobs, as well as consulting for businesses and education. We are currently facing crisis and change. The COVID-19 pandemic and climate change is a crisis, but there are also opportunities for change, such as digital conversion and transition to the green economy, as well as change in the international order. This is when international development cooperation is needed more than ever. I hope that this convention provides a future direction for international development cooperation. Thank you.
부탁드리겠습니다.
A warm round of applause, please, for Chairperson Chang Henggu. Thank you very much for your opening remarks. Thank you.
또 많은 애정을 보내주신 분들 한 분 한 분 또
I can see that there are many distinguished guests as well as organizations joining us, and thank you very much for introducing them to us. As we overcome this global crisis, I think that we can once again understand the value of international cooperation. Thank you. Let us now move on to the second opening remarks
국제협력
from Koika, our co-host of the event. I'd like to invite President Son Hyuk-sang to the stage. A big round of applause, please.
안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Son Hyuk-sang, President of Korea International Cooperation Agency, or KOICA. I would like to welcome all of our online and offline participants to the Global Korea Convention, marking its second year. I would also like to express my gratitude to Chairperson Chung Hae-gu of NRC Korea for preparing this invaluable opportunity despite the COVID-19 situation, and to the heads of the Global Korea Forum member organizations for their unswerving support in the event. The topic of this year's convention is international development cooperation and Korea's role in the era of COVID and climate crisis. And I have to say that this is a very timely and important topic. Korea has begun to initiate the everyday life of the so-called with COVID, but the world is still in crisis due to vaccine inequality and weak health infrastructure. During the COVID-19 outbreak that began last year, everyone agreed on the need to respond to the climate crisis. But there is still a sharp disagreement and conflict over who will bear the cost, as well as the scope and pace of overcoming this challenge. According to a World Bank survey released in July, the pandemic shock caused more pain in emerging economies than developed countries. In the face of the COVID crisis, global leaders are emphasizing building back better in overcoming the COVID challenge and extending support to tackle COVID in developing countries. A representative example is the recent G20 summit attended by President Moon Jae-in. And early this month at the COP26 meeting, which President Moon Jae-in also attended, governments and international organizations tried to gather wisdom toward overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic, climate crisis, and the journey towards green recovery. However, phasing out coal and in terms of reducing carbon emissions, it is true that it was very difficult to find an amicable compromise and solution. The topic regarding the response to COVID-19 in the field of international development and cooperation is resilient recovery. The COVID crisis is not just a one-off or simple challenge. The crisis will repeat itself, and the patterns are complex. The recent global logistics crisis is a typical example. That is why, in international development cooperation, a complex response is necessary. No longer can we overcome these global environmental challenges and changes with a siloed approach. Our response to this must also be comprehensive and integrated. Since last year, Oecd has also been working hard to establish a business system to support COVID-19 resilience and to strengthen the global health and safety net. Development projects and programs are also changing according to an integrated approach. We plan to share such cases of Oecd with all of you at this convention. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the past 2 years of this pandemic, we have seen just how widespread climate change is. Now, the climate change or climate crisis is approaching as a threat to all countries on the planet beyond the distinction between rich and poor. The climate crisis cannot be overcome by the efforts of any one country alone. Turning the blame on someone or some country and ignoring the problem will only exacerbate the situation and not offer the solution. Close cooperation from the international community is absolutely necessary. In particular, cooperation in the Asian region, in which Korea is a part, is more important than in other regions. According to recent data, if we do not reduce carbon emissions in Asia, more carbon will be emitted than North Korea and Europe combined, making it impossible to achieve the global climate goal of 2 degrees or lower compared to pre-industrial levels. In fact, Asia's CO2 emissions, which was 25% of the world's total in 1990, is approaching 49% as of 2020, which accounts for half of global emissions. This is the reason why major countries need to make efforts not only to reduce their own emissions, but at a global level, also help developing countries to reduce their carbon footprint and encourage their cooperation in this endeavor. Even in the same disaster, low-income and underdeveloped countries take the brunt of the blow. So, it is also necessary to help them participate in the response to the climate crisis. In this regard, the theme of today's convention, which emphasizes the necessity of international development cooperation, is extremely important and timely. I believe the convention will serve as a good opportunity for Oecd and other participating organizations to share their experiences and know-how in cooperation to respond to the climate crisis. Let me now wrap up. distinguished guests. Through the Global Korea Convention, which began its footsteps last year, we have been able to bring together Korea's best practices in the field of development cooperation and lay the foundation for collaboration among domestic development cooperation organizations. And today, we are holding the second convention in the face of COVID and climate crisis, the challenges of the times. I hope this convention serves as a significant opportunity to materialize the new vision of international development cooperation of the Korean government, which is realization of global values and the national interest of coexistence through cooperation and solidarity. As we join efforts to see Korea's development cooperation capabilities mature, KOICA will do its best to offer its full cooperation in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
여러분 큰 박수.
Thank you very much.
네, 소중한 말씀
Thank you very much for those precious words.
말씀을 해주셨지만 이번 행사
As just said, this year's theme is quite timely. The keywords, crisis and change, provides us a framework for much thinking. Proactive response and leading action are probably the two leading requirements for us. Now, from the Korea Exim Bank, the Chairman and President, Bang Moon-gyu, will be providing his opening remarks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Bang Moon-gyu, the Chair and President of the Korea Exim Bank. I'd first like to say that it is a great pleasure that we are able to host the 2021 Global Korea Convention under the theme of Korea's role in the COVID and climate crisis era. I'd first like to welcome everyone who's joining us on and offline. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, we were greatly challenged in all areas, including the economy and society. However, with the distribution of vaccines, we now have to prepare for the post-coronavirus era. During the COVID crisis, we realized how important global cooperation is. And realizing the fact that climate change was one of the causes of this pandemic, we also realized that transitioning into a low-carbon, eco-friendly green economy is most important. In responding to climate change, Korea established the goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2015. Korea also reduced its NDC for 2030 from 26.3% to 40%. Our bank is also responding to such efforts, and in line with such efforts, we announced the ESG Business Roadmap in July this year. We provided 180 trillion won worth of ESG lending, and this will go on until 2030. We also aim to issue $20 billion worth of ESG bonds. Our loan portfolio will be revised so that the weight of ESG lending will increase from 17% to 32%. We also established a global ESG fund in the scale of 800 billion won, and a global green bond worth $2 billion will be issued. We want to lead in the ESG finance market. In times of such changes, we also are focusing our efforts in EDCF to grow together with our partners. Due to the local shutdowns due to COVID-19, some of our EDCF projects were halted or delayed. So we introduced an emergency medical loan facility, and the process for the loans were also decreased from 1 year to 3 to 4 months. We provided $500 million worth of loans to 13 countries in an expedited manner. We also plan to provide an EDCF loan worth $900 million to developing countries to help their health responses. EDCF also will expand the capacity of developing countries in the area of climate change. EDCF projects will assess the risk of climate change beforehand and also provide specific reduction goals. A total of $2.4 billion will be extended as EDCF as support until 2025. I actually went to the COP26 in Glasgow personally and found out that it was not easy for the world to arrive at a consensus. But I also felt that this is something that we must do together through global solidarity and cooperation. This means that understanding and cooperation between the stakeholders are more necessary than ever. We will be looking at issues such as transportation, women, rural society, environment, and finance, and many experts from these sectors will be talking and sharing their thoughts on the future. Therefore, this convention is more timely than ever. The Global Korea Convention, I hope, will provide the future direction for Korea's international development cooperation in the post-COVID-19 era. Once again, I thank all the participants, both online and offline. Thank you.
네, 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you very much.
네, 말씀 대단히 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, please.
말씀을 전에 듣다 보니까 오늘 같은
As listening to these congratulatory messages, I feel that it's of great fortune to join everyone here today for this event. I hope that we can share many ideas as well as insights, and I hope that it will be the same for all of our participants as well. Following the opening remarks, we also have many distinguished guests offering their congratulatory remarks. First, we have Mr. Park Byung-seok, Speaker of the National Assembly, who delivered his message of congratulations. Due to prior commitments, he could not take part in person, but let me now read his message. I'm Park Byung-seok, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea. Congratulations on the opening of Global Korea Convention 2021. I would like to extend my gratitude to Chairperson Henggu of NRC Korea, President Son Hyuk-sang of Oecd, and Chairman and President Bang Moon-gyu of Kexim Bank for preparing this meaningful event. I would also like to thank Chairperson Yoon Jae-ok of the National Policy Committee, Second Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Choi Jong-moon, Chairman Kim Sa-yeol of the Presidential Committee for Balanced National Development, and Chairman Park Jong-soo of the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation. Global Korea Convention 2021, which will be held for 3 days and 2 nights starting today, is a venue where various public institutions can share development cooperation achievements on the international stage, and it is also a place for in-depth discussions for future tasks. I hope it will serve as invaluable time to share the fruits, experiences, and wisdom of each organization participating in the convention. Last July, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, or UNCTAD, raised Korea's status from a developing country to a developed country. Korea has now grown not only in its international status, but also in its responsibilities and obligations. Especially after World War II, Korea is the only country that has changed from a recipient country to a donor country. Korea is also the only country that achieved industrialization and democratization at the same time, freeing from post-war colonial rule. I believe that Global Korea Convention 2021 will be an opportunity to share our experiences and disseminate wisdom to developing countries. Global Korea Convention 2021 is being held in the midst of COVID-19. This is possible thanks to the so-called with COVID effort, which is based on the mature citizenship of the Korean people and the K-quarantine system that the world pays tribute to. I wish a safe and efficient convention and hope that all the attendees, both online and offline, will find much inspiration and wisdom from the event. I wish all of the participants of Global Korea Convention 2021 great success and the best of luck. Thank you very much. November 15, 2021, Park Byung-seok, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea. A big round of applause, please.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
네, 무사히 잘 받았습니다.
Thank you for those kind words of encouragement. Now I'd like to present the next person who will deliver a congratulatory remark. This time we will meet the speaker through the video. Prime Minister Kim Boo-kyum will deliver his congratulatory remarks through this video. Fellow citizens, distinguished guests, good afternoon. I'd like to offer my congratulations on the launch of the 2021 Week of Global Cooperation and Global Korea Convention. I'd like to thank the Chairperson Henggu of the National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Science, President Soo Young-sak of Oecd, Chairman and President of Korea Exim Bank, Mr. Bang Min-gyu, for organizing this event. This year's theme is international development cooperation and the role of Korea in the era of COVID-19 and climate crisis. Looking at this theme, I realize that we are facing a global crisis, and Korea and the Korean people bear great responsibility at this time. If looking back at the 2 years, I think Korea was able to successfully respond to the pandemic thanks to our people's citizenship sacrifice, consideration of other, and burden sharing. And while K quarantine was supporting the country, our economy was able to thrive, and we have now become the 10th in the world in economic power. We went through hardships as well in the past, but we were able to grow and develop thanks to the international community and our neighbors. Now it's Korea's turn to give back to the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has made us aware of how interconnected we are. The world is one, and no one is safe until everyone is safe. As such, Korea also realizes that international cooperation is necessary for humanity. Korea currently is sharing its experience of successfully managing the pandemic, or what we call the K-quarantine, with the rest of the world. We are also supplying medical supplies and diagnostic tools and equipment to underdeveloped countries. We are focusing effort to become a vaccine hub and helping underdeveloped countries build sustainable healthcare systems and support for universal health coverage. Carbon neutrality is also a very important challenge for us. The transition to a low-carbon and eco-friendly economy requires participation by all. Korea has made the commitment to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050 and established a goal of reducing 40% of carbon emission by 2030. This is our climate change response. In the post-pandemic and climate crisis, partnership between countries has become more important than ever. We must think together on ways to further contribute together. With this convention, government will work hard toward a KODA that we can be proud of. And this is based on many great recommendations that you can make at this convention. Thank you for your hard work, and once again, congratulations on the 2021 Global Korea Convention, and I hope we can work together to enlarge hope for all our people in the world. Congratulations once again, and thank you.
네, 박수 부탁드립니다.
A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much for your kind words. He's mentioned that he hopes this convention is a venue of hope.
중요한 시점인 만큼 앞으로
Because we are at a critical juncture, it will be important for Korea to play multiple roles in order to position itself steadfastly on the international stage. And thank you very much for those words of encouragement. Let us now move on to the words of welcome by Yoon Jae-wook, Chairperson of the National Policy Committee of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, via video. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Yoon Jae-wook, member of the National Assembly and chairperson of the National Policy Committee of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea. I would like to congratulate you on the opening of the 2021 Global Korea Convention, where we will be exploring the desirable direction and vision for Korea's international development cooperation. As we have seen last year, I hope that this year's Global Korea Convention also serves as a meaningful event to promote Korea's excellent global network, home and abroad. Above all, I would like to express my gratitude to Chairperson Henggu of NRC Korea, President Son Hyuk-sang of Oecd, and Chairman and President Bang Moon-kyu of the Import Bank of Korea for preparing this event today. I would also like to extend my deepest gratitude and encouragement to the various organizations and speakers who have prepared presentations and keynote speeches for the event. Last July, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development upgraded Korea from a developing country to a developed country. This is the first time in the world since the UN Conference on Trade and Development was established, and it is a significant event that all of the Korean people should be delighted with. But at the same time, becoming an advanced country also means that Korea must more faithfully fulfill its responsibilities and roles in the international community. With regard to issues that the world needs to solve through solidarity and cooperation, including COVID-19, climate change, and natural disasters, it is time to show leadership and the will to take action in accordance with the given national status. In particular, as a country that has experienced both sides on issues that can cause conflicts between developed and developing countries, such as carbon neutrality, attention from around the world are focused on how we will act as a sound mediator in these situations. In the midst of all this, the Global Korea Convention 2021, which will be held for 3 days from today, can be said to be a meaningful event that deals with the timely topic of international development cooperation and Korea's role in the era of COVID and climate crisis. I truly hope that this convention shares various best practices for international development cooperation that Korea should refer to and serves as a venue for meaningful discussions among experts in this regard. I will also work hard in the National Assembly so that your invaluable ideas can become a cornerstone and strength for our country's international development cooperation. Once again, I would like to express my special thanks to everyone for attending Global Korea Convention 2021 and to all those involved in organizing the event. Thank you very much.
네, 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you very much.
네, 또 말씀을 해주셨지만 한국의 반영
As we just heard, we have now become
늘어난다라는
an advanced countries, and that means that we have more responsibility to bear. There are many challenges lying ahead of us, and this Global Korea Convention will provide an opportunity to find possible solutions for them. Thank you. Next, there's another congratulatory message from Mr. Moon Sung-hyuk, the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries.
Let me now read the message on his behalf. After a successful start last year, I sincerely congratulate the organizers on the second Global Korea Convention 2021. I would like to thank Chang Hye-gu, Chairperson of NRC Korea, and everyone who has worked hard to prepare for this convention. It is a time when the efforts and cooperation of all members of the international community are urgently needed to solve the problems facing mankind today, such as climate crisis and the spread of COVID-19. Korea is positioning itself as a country that demonstrates leadership in the international community based on the economic power and technological prowess it has developed over the years. In the maritime and fisheries sector, we are expanding international cooperation in various fields such as response to climate change, conservation of the marine environment, and cooperation in shipping, ports, marine affairs, and fisheries. I hope that today's convention will lead to meaningful discussions to lead the international community in each field, and I wish good health and happiness to all participants to the convention. Minister of Oceans and Fisheries, Moon Sung-hyuk. A big round of applause once again for Minister Moon Sung-hyuk for his message. Thank you very much.
분야에 많은
International cooperation is also required in oceans and fisheries, so we look forward to his ongoing efforts. We have another welcoming remark prepared, and this will be delivered by Choi Jong-moon, Second Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs.
안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Second Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs. I'd like to offer my congratulations on the first anniversary of Global Korea Convention that was launched last year. I offer my apologies for not being there in person, although I very much wanted to do so. During the very hard times, I'd like to appreciate the effort made by Chairperson Henggu of the NRC Korea and President Seo Yeon-sang of Oecd for organizing and hosting this convention. It is quite meaningful that we are discussing international development cooperation in the role of Korea in the era of COVID-19 and climate crisis. COVID-19 and climate change have greatly impacted the lives of people. Death throughout the world due to COVID-19 increased to 500 million, and for the first time, those living in extreme poverty and living under $1.95 a day increased for the first time since 1989. The aggregate debt of mid to low-income countries reached $8.7 trillion last year. Extreme weather events such as heat waves, floods, rising sea levels, and desertification is exacerbating. This jeopardizes the chances of achieving SDG goals. This is a global crisis, and it requires inclusive international cooperation. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs launched its ODA Korea Building Trust Initiative. Until now, we supported more than 120 countries with a sum of approximately $180 million. Korea has committed $200 million to COVAX, and we shared vaccines with Vietnam, Thailand, and Iran to actively engage in the global effort to reduce vaccine inequity. Climate change response requires global response and international commitment as well. At the COP26, Korea raised its 2030 NDC and announced that it would reduce greenhouse gases by 40% compared to 2018. Green ODA is also important, and Korea aims to exceed the OECD average by 2025. We will provide tailored assistance to developing countries to enable green recovery and carbon neutrality. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 climate change has to be overcome and sustainable growth has to be realized. For this to happen, solidarity and cooperation among all stakeholders is necessary. I hope that the convention can develop into an innovative platform where the many national and international bodies converge their capabilities and lay the future path for international cooperation. I look forward to the many recommendations on the future direction of Korea's international cooperation in a rapidly changing world. Thank you.
A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much for those kind words. COVID-19 is no exception, and the climate crisis is also another task at hand for the international community, and it's important for all of the members of the international community to play their roles and responsibilities. Once again, thank you very much for those warm and kind words. Next, I would like to invite Kim Sa-yeol, Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Balanced National Development. He will be delivering his welcoming remarks. A big, warm round of applause, please.
여러분 반갑습니다.
It is a great pleasure to meet you all. I am Kim Sa-yeol, Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Balanced National Development. I would like to extend my gratitude to those that provided, despite the difficult circumstances, the opportunity to devise future strategies and Korea's role in their international community, including Minister Koo Yoon-chul of Office of Government Policy Coordination, Chairperson Chang of NRC Korea, President Son Hyuk-sang of Oecd, and Chairman and President Park Moon-kyu of Exim Bank. Above all, I would like to deliver my deepest gratitude to National Assembly Speaker Park Byung-seok, Prime Minister Kim Boo-kyum, Chairman Yoon Jae-ok of the National Assembly's National Policy Committee, Secretary Kim Byung-wook of the National Policy Committee, Minister Moon Sung-hyuk of Oceans and Fisheries, Second Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Choi Jong-moon, and Chairman Park Jung-soo of the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation for their unswerving support and gracing us with their presence at this meaningful event. We're experiencing a period of great change in the global environment in the midst of rapid social structural change, we are witnessing the limitations of the past system and recognize that all these problems cannot be solved by our individual capabilities. I know that many of you here have the same concerns as myself, and that is why you are here today to find the answer. Biologist Charles Darwin put it, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." It is said that the only way to survive is to actively respond to innovative changes.
변화에 대응하는 과정에는
The process of responding to change involves tremendous pain. Nevertheless, we must be level-headed, accumulate objective and multifaceted information on the situation, and prepare innovative future strategies for various possibilities.
전략 추진이 필요합니다.
In this critical time when a diversified strategy needs to be pursued, I think that it is a timely step for the common future for all to have the main actors in each field to gather together and seek a common response through this Global Korea Convention.
경쟁적 대응 외에도
In order to the economic responses, there is an important element where we need to apply all of this to the challenges of mankind, such as infectious diseases, climate change, environment, and energy, and it can only be solved through solidarity and cooperation with the international community. And this inclusive role of the international community is of utmost importance. In the three-day convention following today's opening ceremony, each institution's progress in international development cooperation and best practices will be shared, and new directions will be discussed based on solidarity and cooperation with the international community. I hope that our accumulated experience and wisdom that we have been promoting so far will be shared with the international community through this convention and become nourishment for the world's sustainable development. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those words.
자, 이렇게 말씀 듣다 보니
As we listen to these remarks, there is a great excitement that we feel in our hearts because we are able to proactively respond to the challenges that we faced. If we continue to do so, what will our future look like? Korea's future can be the future of international community, and the convention will be a stepping stone for this end. Now I'd like to invite Park Jung-soo, the chair of the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation.
우리 사회자님께서
The RMC has taken off her face mask, so let me also do so. I hope for your understanding.
정혜구 이사장님 그리고
Honorable Chair Jung Henggu,
수질문에
President Son Hyuk-sang,
준비하느라고 고생 많으셨습니다.
President Bang Myung-gyu, thank you very much for hosting this convention. I'd also like to thank the many staff members and officers for working hard to organize this convention.
3차
More than anything else,
장명이 잘 된 것 같습니다.
I think the theme of this year's convention is very timely. The title is very important for a successful convention. And looking at the title, I see that it is a great and timely theme. Climate change is already upon us. It started a long time ago. It's been long since the permanent frost has been melting in the Siberian continent, and the icebergs are also melting.
변할 가능성이 있다는 그런 과학자의 진단이 나왔습니다.
Some scientists believe that the
개연성이 매우
pandemic that we just experienced is not the last one in our lifetime. The COVID-19 pandemic was caused by humans.
이름을 썼으면 좋겠습니다만
I wish we could use the term post-COVID-19. However, regrettably, we have to live with the corona. I actually use what we term
사피엔스라는 용어를
corona sapiens, which means that we need to become a race that can wisely endure such pandemics and challenges. Samuel Huntington said that there will be a clash of civilization in 1993. However, in the 21st century, it was not the clash of civilization that took place, but reconciliation and harmony of civilization. That is what is being called upon humanity. Last year, we became the 6th in the world in terms of military power and 10th in terms of economic size. We have BTS, Parasite, Minari, the Squid Games, which are worldwide hits. These words that we grew up with are now taking over the world and become vastly popular. The games and culture of Korea has become so popular, and it is beyond our imagination. The CSIS of Korea organized a seminar, and it said that Korea is now going to become a powerhouse of software. It will become a soft power, and the contents that Korea has will dominate the world, according to one scholar. We have now been categorized as a developed nation 4 months ago. We've become officially a donor country from a recipient country, according to ODA. Among the 14 countries of the Northern Cooperation countries, we have
5년간
5 countries who were former recipient countries, but now donor countries, and they're conducting 5 cooperation programs. Other than Russia and China, countries in the Northern Hemisphere are countries that we need to help and assist. In this respect, this convention is very important for the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation. So I thank you. I am proud that Korea has become a developed country, and I like to use the term linchpin Korea. As you know, linchpin is used to keep the wheels on wagons or carts. It's an important part. Korea has already
중심축 역할을 할 수 있다는
become a linchpin for co-prosperity in the international community. I hope that today's Global Korea Convention can establish itself as a platform for international cooperation and be the driver of international cooperation as a linchpin. Thank you once again, Koeka, Korea Exim Bank, and many other officials for organizing this convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big round of applause, please. Thank you, Chairman, for your welcoming remarks as well as your energy and passion in your message. And as mentioned, it's important to pursue balanced and harmonious growth. There are many efforts being made by countries around the world, and I hope Korea also takes pride in its status on its way forward. Let us now move on to presentations by participating organizations. We would like to dive into the strategies and the achievements of international development cooperation of these participating organizations.
그리고 전략을
So once again, I hope that through the organizations, we can look into the major agenda as well as key examples of international development cooperation by the member companies of GKF. First is by KST, or the National Research Council on Science and Technology, on the topic Science and Technology Cooperation between government-funded research institutes and priority partner countries. We would like to invite Mr. Yin Hwan, Head of Office of Policy of NST, for his presentation. A big round of applause, please.
네, 안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lee In-hwan, in charge of Office of Policy of the National Research Council of Science and Technology. I am here on behalf of the President of NST to give a presentation on the science and technology cooperation that exists between government-funded research institutes and priority partner countries.
우선 국가과학연구회 소관 출연연
First of all, let me go into the current status of the member organizations of NST.
서울의 키스트와
We have KIST and GTC in Seoul, and we have KICT in Ilsan, as well as in Uiwang. We have the Railroad Institute, and in Cheonan and Jeonbuk, you can see that we have KFRC as well as WIKIM. And in Changwon, Gyeongnam, we have Kerry and Kim's. And in Daejeon, Daedok Complex, we have a total of 16, including ETRI. And NST is in Sejong. And NST nurtures these organizations and offers its support.
다음은 출연연의 ODA
And let me now move on to some of the technological support and collaborations that's underway with our ODA priority partner countries. First, we have KIMS, or Korea Institute of Materials Science, that is running a technological support project in ASEAN. In Mongolia, what we're doing is finding a way to manufacture filters to filter out and clean and purify wastewater by using natural resources. And in Cambodia, we have supported the role of looking into high polymer film that is biodegradable from trees. In Indonesia, we've been offering support as well as technology to the research institutes on nanofiber manufacturing as well as relevant specificity tests. And under at MOTI, we have KFRI that has offered metal-related technologies to Azerbaijan, so the molding technology to Azerbaijan, and from KFRI, food processing LO technologies were offered to Uganda, Cambodia, the Philippines, and Ecuador. And with regard to the cooperative projects with MOLIT at KICT, has conducted road and smart city construction technologies programs with Vietnam as well as Cambodia. So that was KICT, or Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology, and ETRI under MSIT has offered IoT, AMI, technological innovation through the hub centers. And Korea Institute of Energy Research, or KIER, has put together a substantial model of self-sufficiency for the agricultural sector in Sri Lanka, especially to make sure that they're self-sufficient in energy. And let's now move on to some of the experience in science and technology. In the case of Kitech, at Canton City of southern Vietnam, an incubator park was put together with MOTI. And with regard to KIST, the Korea, Vietnam Institute of Science and Technology, or VKIS, was established with Oecd, and soon enough it is to complete its construction. And with KICT, as well as Korea's Road Agency, along with Oecd and collaboration with the Paraguayan government, a Road Technology Research Institute was established. Not only that, as a follow-up from Korea-Uzbekistan Summit with regard to a research institute of chemical technology, Oecd and Kexim Bank is now engaging in the groundwork to make this happen. Let me now move on to the overseas organization network of S&T research institutes. You can see that we have KIST as well as CRIX and KITEC, a total of 12 organizations in 7 countries led by these 4 organizations. In KITEC and ETRI, we have in the US R&D centers, and also in Costa Rica, we have a Korea-Costa Rica Biological Material Research Center. And in Vietnam, we have by these 2 organizations. In Germany, KIST Europe, and India, we have the Indo-Korea Science and Technology Center led by KIST. In Indonesia, you can see that we have 2 R&D centers by CRIX and KITEC. Last but not least, on some of the activities underway with these overseas organizations, in Vietnam, we've put together a Korea-Vietnam Technology Cooperation Centers. Seminars are offered and technological assistance and education is being provided. And in Indonesia, with MOTI, and also we've put together a council for companies of automotive parts. And in Indonesia, we've put together a cooperation center with India to offer technological prowess in software packages. And especially with regard to computational science, which is a great strength of India, we are putting together a research center on this very topic. So that was a brief introduction on some of the overseas programs with our priority partner countries. I hope that today's convention will offer a good cornerstone for collaboration around the world. And with that, let me conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
응원을 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you very much.
네, 감사드립니다. 추진하고 계신 사업의 내용과
He talked about the many projects that they are pursuing and also provided some cases. Our science and technology is being spread throughout to other countries. It is of great pride to hear that, and we look forward to many more good news. Now I'd like to introduce the presenter from LH. It will be about Overseas Urban Development Platform provider, and Yoon Ho-kyung, Vice President of the LH Corporation, will be making the presentation. Good afternoon. I am Yoon Ho-kyung, the Director of the Global Business Division at the Korea Land and Housing Corporation. Good afternoon. Before I begin, let me first congratulate you on holding the 2021 Global Korea Convention. I'd also like to thank Chairman Chang and other officers for giving me the opportunity to make this presentation. Now I'll talk about the strategies and cases of LH's Overseas Urban Development Platform Provider project. I'll first talk about the LH's Global Business Vision and Strategy, the role of Collaborative Overseas Development Project Platform, and the Global Development Cooperation Model cases. This is the vision and strategy of LH's global business. The vision of LH is the platform provider leading global urban development. We aim to be the policy supporter, policy planner, and also master developer. Through such roles, we want to support Korean companies to go abroad together, and also we want to enable the partnership and growth along with our partner countries. SPD is supporter, planner, and developer. These implementation strategies provide international or cross-border economic cooperation based on G2G. The scalability of our platform is limitless. We go overseas to establish basic infrastructure and work with Korean leading companies to go abroad together. By providing such space for collaboration, we contribute to Korea's inclusive growth and in globalizing this policy of Korea. LH goes overseas based on types of projects such as industrial complexes, smart city, housing construction, and urban renewal. 30 projects are underway or being devised in 15 countries. Now I'll talk about many projects under the policy of New Northern Policy and New Southern Policy, and talk about the Global Green New Deal policy, as well as the CDM, CER credit-based projects. This is the Vietnamese project for an industrial complex. According to Korea's New Southern Policy, we have been cooperating with many ASEAN countries to support Korean companies in this endeavor. We are going to establish a 430,000 Pyong scale of industrial complex in the Hong Nguyen province, south of Hanoi in Vietnam. We have already established an MOU with the Hung Yen province to develop this industrial city and completed the establishment of VTK. Now I'll talk about the industrial cooperation project in Russia's maritime provinces. Based on the Korean government's new Northern Policy 9 bridge, we are conducting this project in order to make inroads into Russia. The local subsidiary was established in Russia, and the subsidiary is called LH Primori. In Ulsan last year, November, LH had held a meeting with the minister from the Far Eastern Antarctic of Russia. LH also is working with UN Habitat to improve the housing environment in underdeveloped countries. And as a part of this effort, the CDM projects are taking place. LH signed an MOU with UN Habitat in last year, December, and also will be signing an MOU with Pakistan this year. LH will be acquiring CER from UN, and by doing so, we will be able to contribute to Korea's aim to become carbon neutral and also to implement its ESG policies. Finally, I'd like to say that we look forward to be a partner in many aspects, including the government's overseas development projects and Korean companies going abroad. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. You can see that we have many joining us from around the world, and you've talked about the vision and strategy that you have.
이어가기 전에
Before we move on to the next presentation, we have Chairman and President of Bang Moon-gyu of Kexim Bank. Thank you very much for your participation, and due to prior commitments, he will be leaving the venue right now. Let us now move on to the next presentation. It will be by Korea International Broadcasting Foundation, or Arirang TV. The title of this next presentation is The Evolving Role of International Broadcasting with South Korea's Elevated Global Status, and I would like to invite Mr. Song Yo-hoon, who heads the headquarters of TV and radio at Korea International Broadcasting Foundation, or Arirang TV Radio. It's a great pleasure to meet you all. I'm Song Yo-hoon, and I am leading the headquarters of TV and radio at Arirang TV. I've been a journalist for more than 30 years, but I'm still very nervous when I'm on the stage. I do ask for your understanding. We've been seeing a change in status of South Korea. If you look at the TV programs by Arirang, there is a campaign program that I would like to share with you, which is on the current status of Korea, which is titled This is Korea.
Well, the entire world is battling against the coronavirus. The numbers of confirmed COVID-19 cases and deaths.
The WHO officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic as the virus continues to spread rapidly around the world.
G7 정상회의가
The G7 summit invited the president of Korea for 2 times in a row. I believe that in order to overcome global crisis and global challenges, we need Korea to be involved. And also, Spain has indicated and showed a ancient map that indicates Doksudo as a part of the territory of Korea. It means that Japan is important, but Korea is even more important. And also that the national interest of Spain is intertwined with Korea as well. That's how I interpreted that message. UNCTAD in July has elevated the status of Korea from a developing state to a developed country, but we were an advanced nation in the past as well. I can say that we're already one of the top 10 economies even before that, and I believe that being an advanced nation means that Korea now in the international community needs to faithfully fulfill its roles as well as responsibilities on the global stage. In line with globalization in 1996, our Arirang TV or Korea International Broadcasting Foundation was founded in order to promote Korea around the world.
저희 아리랑 TV는 지구 상공에 떠 있는 그 여덟
Arirang TV, through 8 satellites, is providing its programs around the world. We also have a terrestrial cable or ITTV or OTD systems. So the terrestrial platforms are being offered to provide programs to 138 million households in 105 countries. It's covering the territory around the world, and Guardians has also noted Arirang as the top 10 music program. The contents of Arirang TV and radio is also being broadcast via various social media, including YouTube, Facebook, and mobile apps. And we have more than 450 million hits in the process. If you look at the news from Arirang, it's about offering our voice in international news. It's about accurately promoting Korea and providing credible information. Recently, if you look at the number of hits and queries, what's quite interesting is whenever there is a major event held in Korea, you can see that the news share of Arirang also goes up, indicating that Korean information is being offered via Arirang TV or from a Korean channel. With regard to K-quarantine, there was a lot of news from Korea,
그래 급증했는데
and we've seen a spike of by 35% in terms of the queries on Korean news. So you can see that we see international participants wanting to receive information from a Korean channel with regard to overcoming COVID-19 as well as the know-how. We can see heightened interest from the world, also helping us elevating the prestige as well as the prominence of Korea. International news also indicate the importance of with COVID in Korea, and I hope that Korea also serves as an exemplar in the process. Another thing that we do is also help SMEs make inroads into overseas markets and also engage in export marketing. As one of our programs, what we do is showcase the technology and products of SMEs of Korea. And ever since this program was launched, we saw exports increase by 14.7% of SMEs, according to a credible organization. And not only that, what we do is we offer various co-projects and programs between large companies and SMEs. There are examples where technical assistance is being offered to SMEs, and Samsung is also supporting this program as one of their CSR efforts. The Korean wave is a major industry right now. It's not only about the economic impact, but it also has an influence on the brand image of the country. And this will be very difficult to actually put in dollar numbers. BTS, Parasite, and the Squid Game, for instance. In terms of public diplomacy, we can see is a troop of a million soldiers. And Arirang TV, and its tourism assets, as well as its promotional ideas, this is being announced and disseminated across the world. And you can see that BTS has also utilized Arirang as a cornerstone in raising their status on the global stage.
오래전에 이런 얘기를 들은 적이 있습니다.
In the past, there was this saying that in Japan, when they are producing and supporting filmmaking, they have pictures or scenes of eating sushi, the Fuji Mountain, and also the protagonist watching the sumo game. And that was the condition in producing a film. So it's a kind of PPL, and it's also to find a way to instill a friendly image of Japan in the film. So it's a type of marketing activity in some sense. In the case of Korea, if you look at this drama by Korea, it was about North Korean residents coming together and watching the TV from the South. And I know that this was very popular in Japan. And such dramas that you can see here on this screen, if we had maybe 10 of such dramas, I think that the perception of Japan towards Korea probably might have been a bit different from what we are seeing right now. Advertisements, promotions, news, and contents do have some differences because if you look at marketing and advertisements, in many cases, people are on guard. However, depending on the contents, it's like the air we breathe for some cases. The UK BBC World has surveyed the viewers, and this was the result. World achievers, those that have IT prowess, are curious, can travel abroad, and that they are comfortable mainstreamers and aspirational providers. And I think that Arirang TV viewers are the same. In terms of promoting Korea, what we want to do is be proactive, and we believe that there is a target group for us to promote the image of Korea.
세계로 통하는 길목에 아리랑TV가 있습니다.
Arirang is in the gateway of linking Korea to the world. This means that the international community members will utilize Arirang as a window to get a preview into Korea. So I ask for your affection and interest in Arirang TV and radio. And for all of you involved in international cooperation, we really want to be a supporter as well as a partner and friend in all of your endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He talked about the role of an international broadcaster. He also touched upon the many elements of society and culture. And he said that the more people were interested in Korea, there were more clicks. That means that I have to rethink my role and be a little bit more proud in my role as well. Now the next presentation will be made by Kotra. He will talk about development cooperation in climate crisis and digital economy and facilitation of private companies' participation through match model. Executive Vice President Kim Tae-ho will be making the presentation. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kim Tae-ho from Kotra. Today I'll talk about international cooperation in the era of climate crisis and digital economy and private participation in this effort. Recently, the climate emergency and digital economy have brought about great change in the growth paradigm of the world. In the climate area, more countries are making their commitments, announcing their commitments toward carbon neutrality. And with the Paris Convention coming into effect, the momentum is growing. In the digital area, the DNA or data network and AI in the ICT area and the metaverse, blockchain, cloud are new business areas emerging. Amid such changes, developing countries are very concerned that the technology gap will widen between themselves and developed countries. That is why they are asking for support and cooperation in areas of climate crisis and digital economy. Until recently, Korea was a poor country, but now it is an affluent country. Based on this experience, Korea can share its experience with many developing countries. Now I'll talk about the economic cooperation projects that Kotra is involved in. The first is the Knowledge Sharing Program, KSP. In the areas of industry, trade, and investment, Korea has accumulated much experience. This has become a soft power of Korea. So we can provide models to our partner countries. And this can also provide an impetus for Korea's policies. As you can see, KOTRA KDI and Korea Exim Bank is working under the direction of the Ministry of Economy and Finance, and they are conducting many policy-related advisory projects. Secondly, I can talk about the linkage of many projects on our platform. It's not just about policy advice. We provide packages as well as many different types of assistance. For example, from 3 years ago, KOTRA has gone to Kenya and is establishing a digital media city. In Kenya, there are unique African culture and natural environments. And by leveraging that, we can establish a great digital media city in Konza. So it's a project that is about building an African Hollywood in Kenya. We provide advice through KSP projects, and the Exim Bank provided the financial means through the EDCF. KOTRA also developed an expansionary project called EIPP, which is a follow-up project. All of these things come together and leverages on the strengths of Korean companies such as films, movies, games. And this can facilitate the Korean companies' advancement into overseas markets. Korea has a vast international network consisting of 127 points. I hope that we can fully capitalize KOTRA's capacity. Now I'll talk about Korean SMEs, CSR activities that we are supporting overseas. CSR is very important for resolving development issues in developing countries. The CSR projects enhances the images of Korean SMEs and also has a great marketing impact because it establishes Korea as the first mover. 167 Korean companies participated in the project and provided diagnostic kits, facial masks, and hand sanitizers to many countries. Such support projects sometimes extends into exports. In the development cooperation sector, we need to expand the participation of private companies. How can we do so? In the past, development cooperation was dependent on the demand of the partner companies, but we need to break away from this approach. Now we are analyzing the economic circumstances of the partner companies and identifying areas that the Korean companies have strength in. This is presented as a list to the partner companies, and the other partner companies can pick which one matches their policy demand. This is a matching type model that will be very effective in the future. For example, in Ecuador, in the city of Guayaquil, which is a port city like Busan, population grew suddenly. As a result, traffic congestion and public security became issues. The city of Guayaquil needed help. The Ecuadorian President Kyoto Molasso, actually requested assistance to the Korean diplomatic mission and trade offices. So KOTRA made an assessment of the local situation, and this year we are going to provide smart city advice to the city of Guayaquil through our KSB projects. The ultimate goal of development cooperation is co-prosperity of the donor country and partner country, and also attaining sustainable economic growth together. Development cooperation in the areas of climate change and digital economy can achieve this goal and also create a new ecosystem among the donor countries and partner countries. It can become a very important turning point. For this to happen, we need the participation of private companies and the establishment of a Team Korea. Thank you.
부탁드리겠습니다.
A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much for your presentation.
쌓아왔던 이 경험들이야말로
Korea has immense accumulated know-how,
이런 소중한 자산.
and this will all be some invaluable assets for us to lead the international community, and I truly hope that you can achieve true collaboration based on such experience. Let us now move on to the presentation by K-Water. The title of the presentation is K-Water's Global Program Using a Collaborative Platform in Water Resources. I would like to invite Mr. Seo-Kyu, in charge of Technology Planning Department at K-Water, for his presentation.
예, 안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Seo-Kyu, in charge of the global business, and it's a great pleasure to be here to share the case of K-Water. As mentioned, I want to talk about K-Water's global program in using our collaborative platform for international cooperation in the area of water resources.
글로벌 사업은
As you're very well aware, a global program involves various stakeholders, both home and abroad, and therefore we need a network. The government, the networks, the NGOs, and many national development banks are all involved, and we need a network in place to make sure that we can take advantage of all of the strengths of these stakeholders. And therefore, K-Water put together 3 international cooperation platforms. The first is the AWC, the Asia Water Council, and the second is AAWC, the Asian National Assembly Water Consultative Board, and the third is KMCRC, the Korea Mekong Water Resources Management Collaborative Research Center. In the case of AWC, it is one of the largest water resource-related platform to resolve water issues in Asia. China, Indonesia, and the relevant governments, international organizations, MDBs, research institutes, and companies are all involved in this network. We have more than 167 members from 127 countries. So this, you can see, is a very fruitful and productive platform, but we thought that we needed another level platform. Well, and namely, we've put together the AAWC, the Asian National Assembly Water Consultative Board, which is participated by members of the Parliament and Assembly of the Asian countries. And we also have the KMCRC that involves in practical solutions for the Mekong region and also offers a key ODA platform. And this April, an entity was put together, and we will also have a conference commemorating the 10th anniversary of this program, and I ask for your support and interest.
앞에서 만들어진 국제 협력 플랫폼을 바탕으로
Based on the international cooperation platform, we want to enable all of these ideas to be commercialized. So here, not only K-Water, but all of the member organizations of Global Korea Forum need to join hands as Team Korea. So for every step of the way in the project, we need the organizations of Team Korea, which can help us create synergy when companies make inroads into overseas markets. One of the major projects of AWC is the following. What we want to do is solve the water issues in Asia, and when there's a request that comes in, it will be approved by the board of AWC, and for the selected projects, we'll put together a project proposal, and via MDB and from overseas governments, we will have it be approved as their official projects. We had a total of 21 AWC water projects, and 10 is now being expanded as an ODA or an MDB project. Especially through the water projects, there were 2 key examples that I wanted to share with you. One was the joint project with UNDP. This was a project that invited 7.5 billion won. Cambodia and Laos put in their request in 2019, and last year it was selected as a water project for the year. And UNDP, Ministry of Environment, and AWC came together to put this project in fruition. In order to solve the water issues in Cambodia and Laos, we put together a project proposal, and our goal is to make this into a commercial project up and running. Another project is the Metropolitan Waterworks model of Indonesia. This was a case that was announced as an exemplar last year. In 2016, during the inaugural assembly of AWC, the Indonesian government has requested this project. Afterwards, the public organizations and the Indonesian government were key partners in this endeavor, and last year we were selected as the priority bidder, and we signed the contract, and starting from next year, we're going to have the Waterworks model implemented in Indonesia. Next is the future direction of K-Water by using this platform. There is a total of 3 pillars. As was already mentioned, in this era of climate crisis, we need the right strategies to respond. Therefore, K-Water and in all of its overseas businesses, we are implementing the ESG values. And in order to disseminate water and welfare in Asia and to achieve the SDGs, we are going to put in our best efforts to contribute. And as a public company, it is also important to work in partnership with private companies. So we want to do that when they make inroads into overseas markets. We're going to be an active partner for our private companies. So that is all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Please join me in sending him a warm round of applause. Thank you very much. That was a presentation from K-Waters.
이번 글로벌 코리아 박람회 모든 기관
Now we will conclude the presentations made by the participating organizations.
자, 다음은 이번 박람회 개최를 축하해 주신
At this convention, we have congratulatory video messages from international organizations.
사무총장께서
Executive Director Grete Faramo sent her congratulatory message. Emily Portbin, Director at UNOPS, will be delivering the message on behalf.
Greetings from Copenhagen, the headquarters of UNOPS. It's a pleasure for me to join you today. We are at a unique moment in history, faced with a multitude of challenges, from a pandemic that continues to threaten lives and livelihoods, to the climate crisis, which poses an ever-increasing threat to people and to our planet. About a month ago, UNOPS, together with UNEP and the University of Oxford, published an eye-opening report. In a landmark finding, the report reveals that infrastructure is responsible for 79% of all greenhouse gas emissions and accounts for 88% of all adaptation costs. As the UN agency mandated in infrastructure, we know that action is needed on a global scale. Throughout history, moments of great upheaval have also brought with them the potential to rethink, reimagine, and rebuild. And I believe that we are in one such defining moment right now. How we respond to this moment sets the direction for our common future. We have a unique opportunity to invest in a recovery that benefits people and the planet. A recovery that goes hand in hand with climate action and gender equality. A recovery that puts us back on the right path to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We know here at UNOPS that the Republic of Korea shares this vision for a better future, and we are delighted that you continue to be a valued partner to us. Over the past 5 years alone, together, we have delivered over $63 million worth of projects, improving lives and livelihoods for people across the world. With your support, we've been able to help countries across Africa and Southeast and Central Asia respond to and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Together, we secured clean drinking water for thousands of people in Afghanistan and Pakistan. With your support, we are continuing to implement a global mission to build resilient, green infrastructure that tackle the climate emergency. Our partnership with Korea has made a tangible difference to so many lives. And together, we can do even more. Dear friends, we can respond to our world's biggest challenges, but only if we all do it together. And we look forward to many more years of successful collaboration with the Republic of Korea to build a better future for all. Thank you.
네, 박수로 감사 인사 전달을 부탁드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. A big hand, please.
발전을 위해서
For sustainable development,
전 세계
Korea can also contribute, and she has mentioned that Korea can share its successful cases with around the world. And as mentioned, we can do much more when we are in this together. And that is why today's GKC is all the more meaningful. Thank you very much. Moving on, we would now like to listen to the keynote presentation by our distinguished guests. Our first keynote speaker will be presenting on the title International Cooperation for World Public Good. We have former Chairperson Song Kyung-yoo of National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Sciences. Big round of applause, please.
이걸 좀 크게 화면을 크게 할 수 있습니까?
Is there any way to enlarge the screen, please?
예, 그렇습니다. 예, 여러분 반갑습니다. 시간이 꽤 많이 흘렸습니다.
It's a great pleasure to meet you. I know that we are behind schedule.
주최 주간 또
Today we're gathered at this prominent event, and I would like to extend my gratitude to all of the hosts and organizers of this convention.
사장으로 있을 때 작년
When I was the chairperson at NRC, we put together this convention for the first time last year, and as I was listening to their presentations,
시기나
I was able to see for sure that many organizations mustered their wisdom on the reason why we need such a convention. So there was a lot of discussions last year, and it was great to see that this dialogue is still continuing on this year.
세계의
My presentation is titled International Cooperation Pursuing World's Public Good.
생각하지 않았는데
Originally, this wasn't my title, but as I was putting together the materials for this presentation, I thought that there was no other title that would befit my presentation.
제가 왜 이 세계의 공익이라는 표현을 썼는지
And the reason why I selected the word public good of the world will be detailed out of my presentation. So this is the table of contents. I would like to first talk about the situation or the circumstances that Korea is in terms of its survival. So first of all, this is on how humanity evolved from Africa, crossing continents, and how they traveled around the world to settle. So this is a very simple way to depict the route of Homo sapiens.
20만 년 전이다 이렇게
It was around 200,000 years ago when the first Homo sapiens came to its being, and Homo erectus in Africa and Europe, the Homo neanderthalis. So in other words, some similar races lived in the continents.
지금 뭐 여러 기록마다 말이 달라서
And it depends on the record. And because I'm not an expert, I cannot say for sure, but it was around 80,000 or 100,000 years ago, where in Ethiopia there was a major travel of Homo sapiens from the continent into West Asia to the Middle East region and so forth. So as you can see here, there was a major movement of Homo sapiens. The diagram on the right is the Korean admixture model,
아프리카 출발하면 이제
where if you start off from Africa,
남방으로
you can see that they would move towards the south in the very beginning,
인류가
and then
퍼져갖고
humanity will move towards the north, and then they will move back south.
남방인
But you can see that for Korea, it follows the movement from those that went towards the south,
이동한 상태에서 다
and then there was already a group settled in the north, and there was a meetup between the south and the north. And according to the professor in Ulsan, Park Jong-ha,
인류가
his research indicates that if you engage in genome research of ancient times, although it's been millions of years ago, everything can be seen in the genome structure.
모든 과거
What we can say is that we as humanity,
수많은
inside us,
많은 사람이 함께 살고
have is all the factors of humanity, and that we are not alone. In other words, we are history of the past and we're all connected.
무역의 규모가
Korea is quite interesting if we look at the trade dependence as a percentage of GDP. In 2011, we were 109.6% in terms of trade dependence. In 2020, it dropped slightly to 72.9%. But if you look at the number of countries that we export to, there may be some differences in the scale, but we trade with almost every country around the world.
국가하고
You can see here we are trading with more than 237 countries.
질의를 했더니
And I asked this question to Mr. Kim Hung-jong.
국가가 195개가
And currently there are 195 official countries as our trade partners, but via UN as well as based on the criteria of ICC. So around 249 countries where we have a trade relationship with, according to President Kim Jong-un of Kiev. And if we also go into the small island countries of South Pacific, you can see that we have massive coverage. In other words, we're connected with almost every country around the world.
여기 이제 IMF에서 나온
This is trade dependence statistics from the IMF. For the past 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, dependence was approximately 90% as a percentage of GDP. So this is from 2010 to 2017. So exposure to trade is indicated as such. For the countries in the left, there are small countries that focus on mostly mediation. But if you go to the left, we have larger countries. In the US and Japan, for instance, their percentage is about 30% of the GDP. So for Korea, we have a very high percentage. In other words, trade is a critical element for Korea's survival. We do have a lot of issues currently with the diesel fuel right now, and
우리가 대외 경제로부터
the
받는
diesel combustion fuel, and you can see that we are majorly impacted by any externalities. And not only that,
만들어왔다고 볼 수 있습니다.
based on exports and imports, we were able to accumulate wealth. And this is an interesting status of our overseas Koreans. We have a total of 7.5 million people, and we have them living in 180 countries around the world.
95개국
I mentioned that we have 195 official trade countries, and including the unofficial, it would be 249. But at any rate, if you look at the overseas Koreans residing in other countries around the world, it's a total of 180. So what kind of implications does this have? Next is on students studying overseas. On the left, Korea indicates Koreans studying abroad, and the right, overseas students coming into Korea to study. So this was all that I could find. But
몇 나라에 나
according to the statistics, I wasn't able to confirm the number of countries, but typically we saw many Koreans concentrating in 8 countries to pursue their studies. But what's important here is what's indicated on this right. Last year, there was a dip in the number. However, nevertheless, we have many overseas students coming into Korea to study. So we have similar number of students in and out. But what's key here is that we have students from more than 181 countries coming to Korea to study. So whichever statistics it may be, Korea is connected with the world. Next, let me move on to the dissemination of Hallyu and the compelling value it has. It was already well mentioned by Arirang TV, but particularly these are some of the achievements. Even in the past, Korea was well known for its cultural contents, but BTS, Parasite, and recently Squid Game are some of the examples that I can cite. I heard that the Squid Game was #1 on Netflix for 46 consecutive weeks. That is astounding. It recently became #2, but you can see that the clothes that you see here in Squid Game is something that's adorned by the international viewers playing Korean traditional games, which is quite extraordinary. Well, we've also seen the number of people joining Hallyu fan clubs around the world. So everyone wants to enjoy Korean culture and they want to be a part of this culture. This is by Korea Foundation, and they conducted a survey on K-Wave. I believe that they conducted a very important study. Their study was on 98 countries. And what they did was put together or survey the numbers of Hallyu fan clubs. And according to their survey, it stands at 1,835. You can see that here in Europe and in the Americas, the number is going up. So all in all, 1,835 fan clubs. And you can also see the number of Hallyu fan club members around the world. As for the Americas, it did drop slightly, but still, all in all, it's quite significant in numbers. And if you look at the number of fan club members, last year it exceeded 100 million. This indicates a survey for only 98 countries. So if we include 249 countries, what would the result look like? And there are also inactive members. In other words, they're not a part of fan clubs, but there are those that do like Korean culture and that want to study Korean language and culture. So if we also include those numbers, it will be massive. And if we also consider the impact of Squid Game, I can say for sure that Korea's culture, the wave that we're seeing right now around the world, the fact that we're captivating the hearts and minds of those in the international community and seeing them wanting to learn the language, the culture, wanting to dance to Korean music is something that we're seeing across the board. With regard to the statistics, there is one question that I would like to pose. We're seeing a decline in population in Korea. It's currently 0.84, and this year it's to drop further. And in 2100, according to the assumptions by Professor Cho Young-tae of SNU, Korea's population will stand at 17 million or 18 billion. So then, what kind of choices or options do we have in such a situation? And who can be defined as Koreans? Are those that live in Korea Koreans? Or for those that do like the culture, want to learn the language, and want to visit Korea, can we also define them as Koreans? Can't we certify them as Koreans? I think this is something that we have to look into. Next is on the assessment on soft power. We have two indicators. In the past, the statistics indicated that Korea was 22nd. However, for these indicators, you can see that Korea is 11th and 2nd, especially for the indicator on the right. This is by UK's Monocle magazine, which surveys the popularity of mass and pop culture. I'm not sure whether this organization is involved in the GKC, but what happens here is survey and analyze the current situation of Korean culture around the world. And here it indicates the popularity of Hallyu. This is the x-axis, and the y-axis is on the growth. And you can see that there are many countries where popularity is quite high and that growth is foreseen.
요 분석과 더불어서 그 이제
In addition to this analysis, another thing that they would look into
한국산 휴대폰을 얼마나 사느냐.
is on how many mobile phones are being sold, how many Korean cars are being sold,
이런 걸
and also on the many people that visit Korea for tourism. So the point here is that many people are interested in Hallyu, and as we see more people with interest, we see them buying more Korean goods, visiting more. So there is a correlation. So this was a survey by Ko-Fi. So what we can say is that it's not just about the product itself. It's about the Korean culture, the image, and the fact that it has a positive impact on Korean products. So it's a great synergy. So this was the survey by Korean Foundation for International Cultural Exchange. So then, what should we do in the future?
예,
What kind of country do we want to be? I've just received a message that I have only 5 minutes.
여러분 한번
So what kind of country do we want to be? Please refer to the slide.
전 세계가 연결돼 있다.
We are connected with the world, as mentioned, but is there any country like Korea? We have a population of 50 million, and we were also under colonial rule. There were so many difficulties and challenges, but in such a short span of time, we're connected with the world, and we're making the world laugh and cry with its content. So you can see that we're a quite exquisite, unique country.
저 아리랑 TV는 우리가 전 세계를
The speaker from Arirang TV has mentioned that they connect Korea with the world, and I think that all of the individual Koreans are those that do forge that connection with the world. We're quite open, and when we pursue public good of the world, I think that we can strive and we can prevail. And it's not just about increasing our revenue. It's about becoming a connector and helping out those that are underprivileged, which will help us gain not only economic benefits, but also work towards the public good of the international community. And I think that's what counts. This is the direction towards international cooperation, humanism, openness, multilateralism, peace, as well as respect for life. This was an area that I studied in the past at a research institute, and I think that right now this is valid more than ever. It's important to become a world contributor, and only when we do become that, we can become a world leader. And if we do not contribute to the world, we cannot lead the international community. It will be short-lived. And it's important to make sure that we do contribute because this is all intertwined. So briefly on Kim Gu. Kim Gu said that this is the country that he wants, and he focused on culture. He mentioned that soft power, or the power from culture, is greater than military power, and I think that we're seeing that being a reality because Korea is becoming more prominent due to its cultural power. And happiness comes from happiness that we offer to others, and can we see peace from such efforts? And this is also from the ancient record of Dangun, our founder, and this was something I found from the book by Park Chang-gi. So please read off from the script. So it indicates that we have those that would connect the spirit, the ideals, and the values of the world to go down, to disseminate all that, which means that it's about leading the world towards that desirable direction with science and technology. And we've heard about the love for mankind. And this, as you know, our national foundation was based on the love for mankind. And this is also true for everyone involved in international collaboration. It's not just about gaining economic benefits, as I've already mentioned. This is not the focus. It's about when we do make inroads into overseas markets, it's about contributing to their economy and helping them stand on their own 2 feet. In other words, when we deliver and extend our hand for the public good of the world, that's what counts. This is on international cooperation. In 2019, as it joined a DAC, there were multiple commitments that we made. We mentioned that 0.15% of GDP will be delivered as ODA, and we will bring this up to 0.25 by 2015, but still we remain at 0.15, and I think that we have to deliver on our words. So this is on universal access. Korea has multiple cultural and development experience, and these are all assets. And we need to take full advantage of such assets and provide universal access to these assets. And what about strategic access? We utilize the resources of the country as well as taxpayers' money, so we need to make sure that we also achieve and benefit natural interests. And there's a lot that we can say from this, but the point I would like to make here is the following. The control tower right now is the Office for Government Policy Coordination when it comes to international cooperation. And I think that that's the right way to go, but maybe we need something more at a overarching level, a more comprehensive approach and strategy. So in some sense, maybe a presidential committee on international contribution could be something that we can work on going forward to complement what we already have, to work for the world's public good. And there are some things that came to mind when I visited Southeast Asian countries. We offer help and assistance, but for those that do seek assistance, what happens is they tend to increase dependence, which may be not at all beneficial for the country. So we need to help partner countries to stand on their own 2 feet to strengthen their self-sufficiency. And these are some of the strategies that I would like to propose. Korea, it can be a global platform. Korea overall can become the hub or a global platform when it overcomes its challenges. So the first global platform it can be would be a global cultural platform, and the second would be a global biomedical platform, and the third is a global green smart city platform. And just briefly on this, in the case of the green smart city, when we put together a city, it's a comprehensive industrial effort. Film is like a multiple of many art forms, but city is about the efforts from all industries. I know that we have LH and other organizations, and they probably know what I'm talking about. We need the waterworks, the sewage, we need industrial complexes, housing, schools. We need everything all together in a city. And I believe that our public agency system and the various systems in the public sphere can be something that can be utilized overseas. In the future, we'll be seeing mega cities. We already have many cities springing up. And as mentioned here on the slide, you can see that in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, we will be seeing an emergence of many mega cities, so we need to plan beforehand. And the fourth platform is the Global Digital Edutech platform. This is linked with IT. Recently, we've been talking about online training and non-face-to-face education and training. Around the world, we're seeing a further need for higher education, so we need to prepare in advance as well. And the last platform is the Global Innovation Platform. This has to do with technological innovation, entrepreneurship, and new industries and new businesses. Next, on schools.
대학 상황입니다. 우리는
The current status is indicated on the left. We have the best universities and professors, but some of the universities have to close down because of the lack of students. And I think that, of course, there are universities that do have to close down because of the lack of competency. However, it's important to decipher amongst the universities to see and to identify those that can become world-renowned. And that is a responsibility that we have to make sure that we can distinguish amongst these universities depending on their competencies. In Asia and the northern region and the Middle East, there is a higher demand for higher education. There are more than 160 million university students, and they say that we will be seeing this number increased to 410 million. In other words, it means that every day we will be seeing 30,000 students needing universities. We have the IT platform and we do have the technological capabilities. So I think that we can play that role. We have the Minerva School, where on and offline has been combined to provide productive education, and metaverse is also being used. So what we have to do is find a way to grow and nurture universities. What's happening right now is closing down on universities that do not have a higher score in their assessments. But once again, there are universities that can play a global role, and we need to identify the schools that can do that. So now moving on to my concluding remarks. We need a new perception and a new way of action. There are many possibilities in this interconnected world, and we need to change the mindset. We need to be modest and humble, and we need to be dedicated, and it's about partnership. It's about going together. We need such an attitude, and we also need to have a heavy sense of responsibility and contribute further. We need to increase our ODA percentage, and we need to put together national programs for the world's public good. If we offer our help, as mentioned, we will be fighting for our survival in 100 years, and they will be helping us back when the time comes. I've mentioned about Professor Park Jong-hwa from Ulsan, and I also want to mention that we have to refrain from nationalism. And there are countries that may want to go down that route of excessive nationalism and chauvinism, but we have to make sure that that does not happen. And what about the rivalry between the US and China? We also have to make sure that this does not escalate into a war. And we need to understand that world public good is about solving the global challenges of climate crisis and peace. It should not be just about this rivalry between these two countries. And I've mentioned about the role of NRC, Korea. We have organizations in both public, private research, and academia. So I think that it's important to gather the experience and wisdom of all of these organizations, like the convention today, and put together the right vision and strategy in international cooperation, also put together a partnership and collaborative model, and make sure to put that into action in the public, private, and the research academia. And when we do open up this door, once again, it's not about national interests. It's about focusing on the world's public good. And when we do that, there will be an even greater fruit and fortune awaiting us. And I hope that we take that direction forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was the first keynote speech. Thank you very much, Chairman Song. The second keynote speech will be given by the Director of OECD Development Center, Rakaiduru Elin Anatodir.
Esteemed guests, dear colleagues, I'm delighted to join you here today to discuss the global challenges we face. And in fact, I would like to see them as opportunities. Opportunities to rethink international cooperation and opportunities to take bold action for a strong recovery. So what are these challenges we are facing? To us in the OECD Development Center, they are well described as 5 major gaps that are widening. The first one is the vaccine inequity. Globally, 40% of the population has received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. But in low-income countries, only 2% of the people have. The second gap is debt. External debt to GNI ratio, excluding China, rose in low-income countries and middle-income countries to 42% in 2020 from 37% in 2019. The third is climate change. Estimates suggest that only 10% of the world population emits 48% of all CO2 emissions globally. The fourth gap is informality. Today, 2 billion people are in informal employment. In the global south, most people depend directly or indirectly on the informal economy. The COVID crisis hit this group particularly hard, as many of them lost their livelihoods due to COVID-related confinement measures, as they had no social safety nets to fall back on. The fifth gap is the digital gap. About half of the world's population have access to the internet. In developed countries, the proportion is 87%, but in least developed countries, only 19% are connected. Add these 5 trends, these 5 rifts that are growing larger, and the picture that emerges is one of an increasingly unequal world. It's hard to imagine that only 10 years ago, we were commenting on the accelerating convergence of developing countries with OECD members in terms of income levels, a phenomenon that the Development Center then had called, as many here might remember, shifting wealth. We were certain that our future was on a path of growth and prosperity. The reversal is worrying. For low and middle income countries, of course, as their development prospects become bleaker, but also for OECD members, as growing inequality means higher levels of instability, greater financial risks, and decreasing economic opportunities. Today, as each country navigates in a world full of uncertainties and volatility, we see worrying trends of rising protectionism and restrictions. We are all interdependent, and that's a fact. And for that reason, we have no option but to work together to mend those 5 gaps. International cooperation, therefore, remains central to advancing our collective well-being, which is why I look forward to the conclusions of your timely debates this week. I believe, however, that the kind of international cooperation we need is no longer one where high-income donors transfer capital and capacity to lower-income recipients so that they can catch up. This old model scored a number of successes in the past, and Korea's remarkable development progress in the 20th century is but one example. But today, in the face of global systemic challenges like the pandemic or loss of biodiversity, countries at all levels of development have to forge new ways of working together as equals to maximize the benefits of their interdependence and co-construct new, more effective policies. Countries need to devise new partnerships, as we have been arguing in our development and transition approach. Today, it's about global public goods, of global shared challenges. In this context, I very much look forward to hearing more about the new emphasis of Korea's international cooperation on helping partner countries navigate major global trends, such as digital transformation and climate change. As part of its development cooperation strategy, Korea has always valued sharing knowledge and lessons from its own development experience. This new focus, therefore, seems appropriate in view of Korea's strength in information technology and commitment to green growth. I also want to make sure that the lessons of this new course are shared and the successes emulated. That is the mission of the OECD Development Center, a place where developed and developing countries engage on an equal footing in a high-level policy dialogue on solutions for our planet and its people. In this regard, I wish to congratulate the Korean government for its steady engagement as a very active member of the Development Center. and I want to thank you for this opportunity to address this distinguished forum. I wish you much success in your deliberations during this important week.
네, 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Thank you very much.
A big round of applause, please.
네, 고맙습니다. 이렇게 두 분의 기조 강연
Yes, we've heard from our keynote speakers, and
하도록 하겠습니다.
we're now drawing to a close of this opening ceremony. Everything is changing so fast these days. And amid these changes, in order to take that wise step forward, we need true partners. For the following 3 days,
진정한 파트너와 함께
through this convention, I hope that you can find the desirable way forward with the partners.
의견과
I would like to ask for your affection and interest in the convention. And let me now extend my gratitude to our distinguished guests and all of our participants joining us online and offline. So with this, we'd like to conclude the opening ceremony of Global Korea Convention 2021. I hope you enjoyed the afternoon session, and I'm Chan Seon-young. Thank you very much.